You hesitate. $38 for something the size of your thumb that you will twist against your lips until it is gone in a few weeks. But you look at the brand name. You look at the packaging. You remember the advertisement you saw with a celebrity whose skin looked flawless and whose life looked perfect. And you think, well, that is what good makeup costs. It is not what good makeup costs. That lipstick costs less than $1 to manufacture. The pigments, the waxes, the oils, the emollients, the fragrance, all of the ingredients that make up the product inside that tube cost between 50 cents and $1.50. The tube itself, the matte black casing with the gold logo, cost another $1 or $2. Total manufacturing cost, including labor, materials, and packaging, somewhere between $1 and $3. You are paying $38 for a $3 product. And the reason the price is $38 instead of $3 has nothing to do with quality, ingredients, or science. It has everything to do with two people who started mixing things in their kitchens over a century ago and built empires so large that they now own almost every brand on the shelf you are looking at. If you enjoy videos about hidden monopolies and the markups most people never question, hit like and subscribe so you never miss one. This story involves two kitchen chemists, 51 brands hiding behind one name, and a Chinese company that sells the same lipstick for $1. The first kitchen belongs to a man named Eugene Schuler. In 1907, Schuler was a young French chemist living in Paris. He was not wealthy, he was not famous. He was a recently graduated chemist who had noticed something about the women around him. They wanted to dye their hair, but the products available at the time were crude, unreliable, and often dangerous. Some contained lead. Others produced colors that bore no resemblance to what was promised on the label. Schuler believed he could do better. Working alone in his apartment kitchen, using beakers and mixing bowls and whatever equipment he could afford, Schuler developed a formula for a synthetic hair dye that produced consistent, predictable color without destroying the hair or poisoning the scalp. He called it aureole, after the halo of light around a saint's head. He sold it to Parisian hairdressers, going door to door, demonstrating the product and leaving samples. The business grew slowly at first. Schuler renamed it L'Oreal in 1909. He expanded from hair dye into other hair products, then into skincare, then into cosmetics. Each new category followed the same pattern. Develop a formula in the lab, package it beautifully, market it as a scientific advancement, charge a premium. By the time Schuler died in 1957, L'Oreal was the largest cosmetics company in France. But the real empire building happened after his death, under the leadership of successive CEOs who understood something crucial about the beauty industry. Women do not buy one lipstick. They buy lipstick at every stage of their life, at every income level, for every occasion. A college student buys differently than a corporate executive. A teenager buys differently than her mother. If you only sell luxury products, you miss the teenager. If you only sell drugstore products, you lose the executive when her income rises. The genius of L'Oreal's strategy was to own brands at every price point, so that no matter where a consumer was in her life, no matter what she could afford, she was buying from L'Oreal. This is why L'Oreal owns both Maybelline, which sells mascara for $8 at CVS, and Lancôme, which sells mascara for $28 at Nordstrom. The products are not dramatically different. The ingredients overlap significantly. Some industry insiders have suggested that certain Maybelline and Lancôme products share formulation platforms, meaning the base recipe is the same with minor adjustments for texture or fragrance. But one is priced for the drugstore and one is priced for the department store, because the consumer in each location has different expectations about what beauty should cost. L'Oreal does not compete with itself. It competes with everyone else at every price point simultaneously. And because it owns brands in every segment, it captures revenue whether the market moves up or down. If the economy is strong, consumers trade up to Lancôme. If the economy weakens, they trade down to Maybelline. Either way, L'Oreal gets the sale. Over the next 6 decades, L'Oreal acquired relentlessly, systematically, and across every price point and product category in the beauty industry. Lancôme, Garnier, Maybelline, Ralph Lauren Fragrances, Kiehl's, Urban Decay, NYX, IT Cosmetics, Shu Uemura, Giorgio Armani Beauty, Yves Saint Laurent Beauty, CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, SkinCeuticals, Essie. The Body Shop was bought and later sold. 51 brands in total, spanning everything from $3 drugstore mascara to $300 luxury serums. All owned by one company, all manufactured using shared formulations, shared supply chains, and shared research facilities. All priced differently, based not on what they cost to make, but on which shelf they sit on and which logo is printed on the box. Now let me tell you about the second kitchen, because the other half of the beauty industry started in almost exactly the same way, 3,000 miles away. In 1946, a woman named Estee Lauder was living in New York City. She was not a chemist. She had not gone to university. She was the daughter of Hungarian immigrants, and she had learned to make face creams from her uncle, a chemist who ran a small laboratory in the back of a stable in Queens. Lauder took her uncle's formulas, refined them in her own kitchen, and began selling them to beauty salons and hotels in Manhattan. She was persistent to the point of obsession. She gave away free samples. She demonstrated products on women's skin in department stores. She refused to take no for an answer from buyers at Saks Fifth Avenue until they finally agreed to stock her products. A year after launching, Estee Lauder products were on the shelves at Saks. Within a decade, she had expanded internationally. Her sales technique was legendary and ruthless. She would walk up to women in restaurants, at parties, on the street, touch their face uninvited, and tell them their skin needed her product. She once told an interviewer that she had never worked a day in her life without selling. She was not exaggerating. She turned every human interaction into a sales opportunity with a persistence that modern marketers would call aggressive and that she called necessary. Her most brilliant innovation was not a product, it was a marketing tactic. She invented the free gift with purchase. Buy a lipstick, get a free sample of moisturizer. It sounds obvious now because every beauty brand on earth copied it. In the 1950s, it was revolutionary. The free sample got the product onto women's skin. Once it was on their skin, many of them came back and bought the full size. The cost of the sample was negligible. The return was enormous. The brand grew from there, adding Clinique in 1968, which was positioned as the first dermatologist-tested, allergy-tested skincare line. Clinique's packaging was deliberately clinical, green and white, medical-looking, designed to signal science and safety in an era when consumers were starting to worry about what they were putting on their faces. The irony is that the ingredients in Clinique products were not dramatically different from what other brands used. The positioning was the innovation, not the formula. Then Origins, then MAC, which Lauder acquired in 1994, giving the company access to the professional makeup artist market. Then Bobbi Brown, acquired in 1995, which brought a natural, no-makeup aesthetic that appealed to a different demographic than MAC. Then La Mer, the luxury moisturizer that sells for over $300 a jar, whose origin story involves a NASA physicist healing his burn scars. A story that has been questioned by dermatologists but never officially debunked. Then Aveda, then Jo Malone, then Tom Ford Beauty, licensing the fashion designer's name for a fragrance and cosmetics line that charges $80 for a lipstick. Then Too Faced, acquired for $1.4 billion in 2016, a brand founded in a Los Angeles apartment. Then Dr. Jart, a Korean skincare brand, acquired to tap into the K-beauty trend. Then Glam Glow. Today, the Estee Lauder Companies owns 29 brands. The Lauder family still controls 86% of the voting power. Revenue in 2025 was $14.3 billion. Estee Lauder started mixing creams in her kitchen with formulas from her uncle's stable. Now the company she built sits in the General Motors building on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. Between L'Oreal's 51 brands and Estee Lauder's 29, these two companies alone own 80 beauty brands. Add Coty, which owns CoverGirl, Rimmel, and Max Factor. Add Procter & Gamble, which owns Olay and SK-II. Add Shiseido, which owns NARS, Bare Minerals, and Laura Mercier. Add LVMH, which owns Sephora, Dior Beauty, Givenchy Beauty, and Fenty Beauty. 13 parent companies control almost everything on the beauty aisle of every store you walk into. Every drugstore shelf, every department store counter, every Sephora wall. The brands look different, the packaging looks different, the price points are different. The company writing the checks is often the same, and the products inside those different packages are more similar than anyone in the industry wants you to know. A L'Oreal lipstick and a Maybelline lipstick are both made by L'Oreal. They share research and development. They share ingredient suppliers. They share manufacturing facilities. The formulations are not identical, but the base ingredients, the waxes, the oils, the pigments, come from the same sources and cost roughly the same amount per unit, regardless of which brand name ends up on the tube. The L'Oreal Paris version might retail for $12. The Lancôme version, made from nearly identical ingredients in a nicer tube, retails for $34. The difference is the packaging, the marketing budget, and the store it is sold in. The stuff that touches your lips is functionally the same. This is not speculation. Industry insiders have confirmed it publicly. Beauty brand founders who have worked with contract manufacturers have spoken openly about the fact that the same factory, on the same production line, fills tubes for brands at 5 different price points. The factory does not change the formula based on the brand. It changes the label. The factory does not charge more for the luxury version. It charges more for the packaging. Now let me tell you what happens when you follow the supply chain backward, past the brand headquarters, past the marketing agencies, past the packaging designers, all the way back to the place where the product is actually made. Because that place is almost always the same country. China produces cosmetics for virtually every major beauty brand on the planet. The factories are concentrated in Guangdong province, particularly in and around Guangzhou and Shenzhen, where industrial clusters have developed over the past 2 decades specifically to serve the global beauty industry. These factories are not primitive. They are modern, automated, and certified to international manufacturing standards. They produce everything from lipstick to foundation to eyeshadow to skincare serums, using the same raw materials and the same production equipment as the most expensive laboratories in France and Japan. In 2004, a father-son team in New York City named Alan and Joseph Chama had an idea that cut through the entire system. Joseph had just graduated from NYU Business School. His father ran an apparel company that did private label work with Target. Together, with a makeup artist named Scott Vincent Borba, who had previously worked on launching a brand that LVMH eventually acquired, they founded a company called ELF Beauty. The concept was insane by industry standards. Sell makeup online for $1, not $10, not $5, $1. Full-size products, real formulas, real pigments, real packaging, $1. The entire supply chain was built in China, primarily in Shenzhen. Joseph Chama leveraged his father's existing manufacturing contacts to source everything from one industrial zone where the packaging factory, the component suppliers, and the assembly facility were all within a few blocks of each other. The products were designed, prototyped, manufactured, and shipped from China directly to American consumers. No department store middleman, no Sephora counter rental, no $4 billion marketing budget, no celebrity endorsement deals. The beauty industry laughed. $1 cosmetics. Who would buy that? 50 million people bought that. ELF grew from a website selling dollar makeup into a company worth $5 billion. It went public on the New York Stock Exchange. It opened over 200 retail locations. It expanded internationally. And it proved something that the beauty industry had been desperately hoping nobody would prove. That the product inside a $38 tube and the product inside a $1 tube can be manufactured in the same country, using the same ingredients, on the same type of equipment, by the same type of worker, and the consumer cannot tell the difference. The way ELF exposed the markup was almost accidental. Beauty bloggers and YouTube reviewers started doing side-by-side comparisons. They would apply a $35 foundation on one half of their face and a $5 ELF foundation on the other half. Then ask their audience to guess which was which. The results were devastating for the premium brands. In video after video, viewers could not tell the difference. Professional makeup artists were brought in. They could not tell the difference either. The blind tests went viral. Millions of views. The comment sections were full of people saying some version of the same thing. I have been wasting my money for years. L'Oreal nearly bought ELF at one point, according to founder Joseph Chama. They backed out at the last minute. If they had gone through with it, the disruption would have been absorbed into the empire, the way every other challenger has been. ELF would have become another brand in L'Oreal's portfolio. Its prices would have gradually crept up, and the system would have continued undisturbed. Instead, ELF stayed independent, and it kept growing. And it kept proving that $1 makeup is not a gimmick. It is a business model that works because the underlying economics of cosmetics manufacturing have always supported it. The $38 price was never about cost. It was about control. ELF's speed was part of the disruption. The company could go from product concept to online launch in 13 weeks. The industry average was 6 to 12 months. While L'Oreal was spending a year developing a single lipstick shade and millions on focus groups and market testing, ELF was launching dozens of products simultaneously, testing them in real time with real customers, keeping the winners and killing the losers, all at a pace that legacy brands could not match because their cost structures would not allow it. And then came the Chinese brands that did not even bother selling to the West. They built their own empires at home. Perfect Diary, founded in 2017 in Guangzhou, went from zero to one of the top-selling cosmetics brands in China in less than 3 years. The company used Chinese social media platforms, Xiaohongshu, Douyin, and WeChat, to build a following with young Chinese women who were tired of paying Western prices for products made in their own country. Perfect Diary's lipsticks sell for about $8 to $12. The formulations are developed in partnership with the same contract manufacturers that produce for global brands. The quality, as verified by independent beauty reviewers and ingredient analyses, matches or exceeds many Western mid-range products. Florasis, another Chinese brand, took a different approach. It wrapped its products in Chinese cultural aesthetics, with packaging inspired by traditional Chinese art, carved relief patterns on lipstick cases, and designs that reference centuries of Chinese craftsmanship. A Florasis lipstick does not look like a Western product with a Chinese label. It looks like a piece of Chinese art that happens to contain makeup. The carved gold cases became viral on social media, shared millions of times by consumers who had never seen a cosmetics brand celebrate Chinese designs so explicitly. Florasis is not trying to look like a Western brand. It is deliberately, proudly Chinese. And it is selling internationally, including in Japan, where it became the top-selling lipstick brand on Amazon Japan in 2021, in Southeast Asia, and increasingly in Europe and the United States, at prices that undercut the Western competition by 30 to 50%. There is a generational shift happening underneath all of this that the legacy brands are struggling to address. Consumers under 30, particularly Gen Z, have grown up watching beauty YouTubers deconstruct products ingredient by ingredient. They know what hyaluronic acid is. They know what niacinamide does. They know that the active ingredients in a $90 serum and a $12 serum are often identical, because beauty influencers with chemistry backgrounds have told them so, repeatedly, with receipts. This generation does not trust brands the way their parents did. They trust ingredient lists. They trust comparison videos. They trust their own eyes. When a 23-year-old watches a blind test where a professional makeup artist cannot distinguish a MAC lipstick from an ELF one, and then sees that MAC is owned by Estée Lauder and costs 8 times more, the mythology collapses. The brand story stops working because the consumer has access to information that previous generations did not. They can Google the ingredient list. They can find the factory on Alibaba. They can order samples from the same Chinese manufacturer that supplies Sephora and test them at home. The combined effect of ELF from the American side and Perfect Diary, Florasis, and dozens of other brands from the Chinese side is the same pattern we have seen in every other industry where a markup meets transparency. The product can be made for a fraction of the price. The quality is equivalent. The consumer is starting to figure out the math. And the companies that built their empires on the assumption that nobody would ever check are watching the numbers shift. L'Oreal is not going bankrupt. Estée Lauder is not closing its doors. The beauty industry is not collapsing. But the premium that these companies charge, the gap between what the product costs to make and what the consumer pays, is under pressure for the first time in a century. And that pressure is coming from the same direction it always comes from. Factories in China that can make the same thing for less, and consumers who are finally asking why the original costs so much. Let us go back to where we started. You are standing at that Sephora counter, the soft lighting, the 50 perfumes, the lipstick in your hand, $38, the matte black tube, the gold logo, the celebrity in the advertisement whose skin looked flawless. But now you know that the lipstick cost $1 to make. You know that 51 brands on this wall are owned by one company, founded by a man mixing hair dye in his Paris kitchen. You know that another 29 are owned by a woman who mixed face cream in her New York kitchen. You know that the same factory in Guangdong province fills tubes for $3 brands and $38 brands on the same production line and changes nothing but the label. You know that a company called ELF sells the same product for $1 and is now worth $5 billion. And you know that Chinese brands are selling the same quality for 1/3 of the price without pretending to be anything other than what they are. The lipstick is still in your hand. It still looks beautiful. The color is still perfect. But the $38 price tag is no longer a mystery. It is a choice. If this video changed how you think about what is sitting in your bathroom right now, hit like and subscribe for more. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And I want to hear from you. A lipstick costs $1 to make and sells for $38. Two companies own 80 brands between them. The same Chinese factory makes products for luxury brands and dollar brands on the same line. Now that you know, does it change what you buy? Drop your answer in the comments.